Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev. This is Vrinda from Baltimore. I welcome you all for today's session. Maharaj will continue to glorify about the Lord Narasimha Dev appearance day. And I request you, Maharaj, please take over the call. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Shubhagyantamirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swakadakitam Vandeham Shiguro Shiyutapadikamalam Shigurum Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sadhujatam Sadhana Vaganatam Vikantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitam Scha Ma'am Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Uttale Sri Bhakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Devai Gauravani Pacharine Nevashesha Sunyari Vasyatire Sutane Panchakalpa Turubhascha Pita Sindhu Payabhachat Vitanam Bhavane Vyo Vaishnave Vyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So, when Hiranyakashipu asked the teachers of his schoolmates, the teacher of Prahlad Maharaj, the teachers of Prahlad Maharaj, Sanda and Amarka, to bring his little son, he wanted to talk to him. Like an ordinary father, when the child goes to school, the father always asks the child, well, what'd you learn in school today? And so son in the market bring the boy, and he's very affectionate to his son. He says, my dear Prahlad, what have you learned in school? And Prahlad responded, Tatsaru manye suravarha dehinam sadasamuddiya diyam nasadgrahat yadvatma patam griha andakumpam vanogato yat darim astriyeta. Prahlad Maharaj responded, O best of the Asuras, king of the demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well where there is no water but only suffering. One should give up this position, go to the forest. One should go to Vrindavan where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent. And one should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is how he responded to Hiranyakashipu, his father. And Prahlad addressed him. He didn't say, oh, father, he said, Asurya Badya, or a best of the demons. And because he knew his father was a demon, but he was not only the demon, he had subjugated everything. He was the best of all demons. What did he say? And he said, anyone who accepts material life and material household life should give it all up because it's only a dark well that leads to more and more anxiety and suffering. Better go to the forest and take shelter of Vrindavan and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hiranyakashipu is kind of amazed, and he's angry, but he laughs, thinking, "What is this? What is this child saying?" So he comes to he says to his teachers, "What are you teaching him in school?" They said, "We're not teaching him any of this stuff. He's learning it from somewhere else." Well, where? Well, there must be some Vaishnavas who are coming in disguise and polluting Prahlad Maharaj's consciousness. So he sends him back to school, and he instructs the teachers, who are sons of Sukracharya, to teach him in the right way. So they're trying to teach him, and when he gets back to the school, they're teaching him, how to destroy your enemies, how to become superior over those who are your adversaries. And Prahlad Maharaj says, friends and enemies, these are simply creations of the mind. They are our only enemy is our mind, and our only friend is the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So now he's in a very, he's responding to his schoolmates, and then they can't really, his teachers, they can't really. So after some time, they try to deprog him, but Prahlad is very obedient. He listens to what they say, but he doesn't agree with them. Finally, he brings him back to his father. And now his father thinks now he's been programmed rightly, he's been taught rightly. So again, he asks Prahlad, what have you learned in school? And Prahlad says, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smartam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasa, Sakam, Atmanivedam. Iti Pusharpitam, Vishnu, Bhakti, Chaitnava, Lakshana, Kriyeta Bhagavatamada, Tanmanye, Ditam, Uttamam. Prahlad Maharaj says, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respect, worship of 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, consider the Lord one's best friend and surrendering everything to him. In other words, one's body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood as the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. Now, Hiranyakashipu was really angry. He starts accusing his son as being an enemy. And then he starts offending the Brahmanas. The father, and he turns to Prahlad, where did you get such knowledge from? Prahlad Maharaj says, Matirna Krishna Paratos Fatova, Ito Bigat Yeta Griha Vratanam, Vedanta Gopi Visatam Tarisram Punapanas Vita Charanaram. Prahlad Maharaj replied, because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to material life make progress towards hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which already has been chewed. Their inclinations towards Krishna are never aroused, either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. Pretty much he was saying, my dear father, you will never be a devotee. So what is he saying? Because of their uncontrolled senses, persons strongly entrapped by a material nature. So material nature attracts the conditioned souls, and their senses, they use their senses and mind to extract happiness from the objects of the senses, trying to find satisfaction and happiness. But because their mind and senses are always directed toward the temporary, they remain uncontrolled. And therefore, When they're uncontrolled, a person is never satisfied by what he gets. Even when he gets what he wants, he is never satisfied in getting the benefit from it, because there's no benefit from it. Finally, Prahlad Maharaj says, Nate du swakati temhi Vishnu darasya ya bihir artamaninam ananyatandar upaniyamanas te pisha tantra uradani vadra. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life, and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects, cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home, back to Godhead, and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men led by another material attached man are bound by the ropes of fruit of labor, which are made of very strong cords. And they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. So people in the material now, a lot of Raj says they are blind. And therefore, because they are blind and they're led by others who are blind, they fall into the ditch of material suffering. And therefore, one after another, the ropes of material bondage causes them to take birth again and again in the material world, suffering the threefold miseries. Raj goes on, the sambatas tava urukramam rim, spirsat yanartha pagamo yanartha, mahiya sabhara rajo visekam nischinchananam na vinipta yadvat. And then he ends, unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, who is completely free from material contaminations. Persons very much inclined towards materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is always glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in this way can one become free from contamination. So here is the message. Smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Take full shelter and engage in the service of this pure spiritual master. Make his instructions your life and soul. That is what it means to smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnava. Only in this way can one be free from material contamination. Material life is considered to be a disease because it refers to something that is foreign and causes us sickness, illness, difficulty. What is that foreign? We have accepted the body and we think that the body is the source of happiness. Therefore, we waste time in sleeping, playing, trying to make money, and trapped by the two very strong senses, the genitals and the tongue. They gradually glide down to a hellish conditions of life, life after life after life. But if somehow or other, if they come in contact and can recognize the glory of the pure devotee of the Lord, take shelter of that pure devotee and render service, then they can be free from this disease of material existence. Now, Prahlad Maharaj, his father is really angry. He throws him off his lap. He said, you are a disgrace to the family. Therefore, you should be killed. And then he goes on to say, just like when one limb of the body has a disease, it must be cured, but if it cannot be cured, it must be cut off, or else the whole body will die. Therefore, you are a disease for our family of demons. And therefore, you should be killed. And then he sends him Now, and they tried to kill Prahlad in so many different ways. Of course, in between there, Prahlad Maharaj, when he's back in school, he's teaching his schoolmates the process of devotional service and the importance of using the human form of life to take shelter of the Lord in devotion, who is our best friend, can give us protection from all suffering and ultimately raise us to the platform of continuous happiness. Prahlad Maharaj's friends are asking, that is very nice and we agree with you, but we're still young, we're still children, and we have much to learn first in school. When we get old, we will do that. Prahlad Maharaj doesn't accept their argument. He says, old means just before you die. No one knows when they're going to die. So now is the time to become Krishna conscious. So this is a very important message for all of us, that don't put Krishna conscious on hold, because one can never tell what the future will bring. Once you put it on hold, you may find yourself putting it on hold continuously until it's too late. Or calamities may come, and if you're not ready, equipped with the knowledge of Krishna consciousness and the shelter of the Lord's devotee, then we will be overwhelmed by the waves of material existence that continue to come crashing upon the shore of our mind, never leaving us peaceful even for a second. This is material life. Later on, and now Prahlad Maharaj they're trying to torture him. So they take him away and they're trying to stab him with spears, but the spears have no effect. They throw him in boiling oil, but the oil has no effect. They take him and throw him off a mountain, and Krishna catches him from falling down. They throw him under stampeding elephants, and the elephants cannot step on him. They go around him. They, so many ways, Prahlad is being tortured. His father became really angry with his torturers because they were ineffective. So he decided he threw his son into the ocean, and threw a mountain on top of the ocean. And still he was saved by Krishna. So many ways. The Brahmanas tried to put spells upon him to curse him to die with these evil spells. The evil spells came back at the Brahmanas to kill them. Then they prayed to Prahlad, please save us, and Prahlad saved them from their own evil ways. So not only was Prahlad unaffected, but he was also forgiving and compassionate to those who tried to harm him, especially his father. After all the attempts, and they threw him in fire also, the whole process of Holi. We celebrate that festival called Holi. Holi was the name of the sister of Hiranyakashipu, and she had the benediction that she could not be burned by fire. So they put Prahlad on her lap and they lit a fire all around them. But Prahlad was saved and she was burnt. So by the power and mercy of the Supreme Lord, in every case, Prahlad was saved from the most dangerous forms of torture. Well, Prahlad finally his father is, he's kind of thinking, who is this son of mine? We've tried everything to kill him and he can't kill him. So again, he becomes a little affectionate to his son, puts him on his lap and asks him, Prahlad, where do you get your power from? Prahlad Maharaj says, I get my power from the same place everyone gets their power. There's only one source of power. The same place that you get your power from, Vishnu. Now, Prahlad is, and then Hiranyakashipu asks Prahlad, where is this Vishnu? You talk about this Vishnu. Where is he? I don't see him. Is he here? Is he here? He's pointing in different directions. Is he in this pillar? And he takes out his sword and he hits the pillar with the sword. And now the pillar breaks apart, and out of it comes the most unusual and powerful entity which covers the entire sky. Bhagavan Shringadev appears half man, half lion in a very ferocious mood. Hiranyakashipu is sizing up this personality. Who is this? The demigods have created this monster to kill me, but it is not possible. I cannot be killed. And so there's a fight between Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj. Hiranyakashipu and Lord Nrsimhadev. It's a great fight. The Bhagavatam describes it in detail. How Hiranyakashipu was so afraid of Nrsimhadev that he was fighting with his eyes closed. And the Lord was throwing him this way and that way. Sometimes the Lord would play with him just like a child would play with a little puppy dog. And then he would throw him away. And finally, at one point, the Lord got tired of playing with him. So he just took him and put him on his lap, and with his nails, he dug into his chest and ripped open his stomach and pulled out his intestines and garlanded himself with the intestines. Why did the Lord garland himself with the intestines? Because the Lord knew that this person who was Hiranyakashipu was his gatekeeper, Jai, in the spiritual world. So to honor the fight between himself and his eternal associate, the gatekeeper, he accepted the intestines as a garland from his dying devotee. And then putting him on his lap, the Lord appeared just at the time of dusk. He kept all of the benedictions of Brahma intact. Brahma said, you cannot be killed in the day, you cannot be killed at night, you cannot be killed by a man or an animal, by any weapon, by on the earth or sea or in the sky, not by what else? So many benedictions he got from Brahma not to be killed. But the Lord is more intelligent, and therefore he kept all the benedictions of Brahma. He killed him on his lap, which is not on land, sea, or air. He killed him with his nails, which are not considered to be a weapon. He killed him at dusk, when it's just the junction of day and night. It's neither one. What else? Anyway, he appeared as half man and half lion, so he wasn't either an animal or a man. So in this way, the Lord honored all of the benedictions that Brahma gave to Hiranyakashipu, and then killed the demon. And then after Hiranyakashipu was killed, the Lord threw him off his lap, and then his demon associates, for hundreds of them, came charging after the Lord. And the Lord was just swiping him. He manifested a form with 16 arms. And with these 16 arms, he was ripping apart all of these demons. So finally, after almost all of them were killed, a few of them ran away and left, knowing there was no hope. And then, of course, Prahlad Maharaj, and the Lord is still ferocious. He's in a very ferocious mood. He's still, and then Brahma and all the demigods appear now that Hiranyakashipu was killed and all his demon cohorts were also destroyed. And they all came to greet the Lord, but no one could approach the Lord. The Lord was so angry. And the Lord was wondering if Brahma was thinking what to do. So he asked Lakshmi, this is your husband. Please go pacify him. She said, I have never seen my husband in that form. I don't know him as my husband. She said, I'm a chaste woman. I'm not going. And then the demigods were there. Brahma couldn't approach. Even Shiva couldn't approach. No one could approach. The Lord was so angry. Finally, Brahma came to Prahlad in a very gently, in a very loving way, says, he came because of you. So I think maybe you should go and pacify him. So grabbing a garland, you see the beautiful picture of Prahlad standing next to the Lord with a garland, holding it up, wanting to garland the killer, the killer of his father. And when the Lord saw Prahlad standing there, he immediately became calm. And then there was a nice exchange where the Lord puts Prahlad on his lap, and there's a wonderful dialogue between the two. And the Lord is showing his affection as a father would show his affection to a lovable son. And this goes on for some time, and then the Lord wants to do something. He says to Prahlad, Prahlad, you have worshipped me in so many nice ways. I'm so grateful. Please take a benediction. Benediction, what? I am not a Vanik, I am not a merchant, and I don't worship you for something material. All I want to do is serve you in love, that's all. That is my happiness, that is my only desire. The Lord was persistent. Then Prahlad Maharaj said, all right, if you want to give me a benediction, then please give liberation to my father. The Lord said, that has already been done. As soon as he was destroyed, he attained liberation. Please ask for something. The Lord was persistent. Prahlad Maharaj could not think of anything. Finally, he said, my dear Lord, if you really want to give me a benediction, let me stay in this material world and just preach to all these fools and rascals who have made a humbug civilization out of this world. I am feeling compassion for these fools and rascals. So let me be your instrument to give them your mercy in this world. When the Lord heard that, he became overwhelmed with more love for. He entered into the heart of the Lord in a very deep way. Nothing for himself, only asking for the benefit of others. And so this is a beautiful pastime. There's so much to learn. It's quite lengthy. It's in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. I recommend all the devotees to read the pastime, attend the lectures that are going on this weekend in your local temples. And if you're not near a temple, try to get to one. If it's impossible for whatever reason, try to create local ceremonies among the devotees in your area. But this is one of the most important honor festivals, honoring the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Nrsimhadev, particularly in this age of Kali where there are so many demons. Prabhupada says in 1972, he said the demons are many and they always increase and they will continue to increase as time goes on. He said, don't worry, take shelter of Lord Nrsimhadev. Bahir Nishringo, Ridaye Nishringo. He's in the heart, he's everywhere. If you take shelter of Lord Nrsimhadev promises that anyone who devotes their life to my service, taking shelter of me, I give them complete and full protection. So we want to honor the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not because of what he gives us, because of who he is. He is the greatest personality. Lord Narayan himself manifests himself in so many wonderful forms of himself. Sri Ramachandra is one of them, and this form of Lord Nrsimhadev is also a form of Narayan coming from the Vaikuntha realms. So make a vow to chant prayers, to give up some attachment, to increase your devotional life, increase your chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We should always be thinking on these appearance days of the Lord, how we can increase our devotional service, how we can decrease some of our encumbrances in material life, and keep our mind distracted away from the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay, so this is a beautiful pastime. It takes up 9 full chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 7th canto. Even part of the 10th chapter is also includes prayers by Prahlad Maharaj. Okay, Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for today's beautiful class. Thank you for narrating the story of Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu. I request devotees, if there are any questions, comments, realizations, please go ahead. And it would be really nice if you all can turn on your videos. I see Anjali Mataji has raised her hand. Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. Vrinda is asking what pictures you have in the background, if you have pictures of Nrsingadev.
Yeah, they are. They are pictures of Lord Nrsingadev from different temples. There's one from Sringashetra in Germany, Jyata Nrsinga. We have pictures of Ugra Nrsinga from Mayapur. We have pictures of some of the South Indian Nrsinga deities from Ahovalam. And we have a picture of the deity in the temple of Bangalore, the Nrsinga deity there. We also have a deity of Lakshmi Nrsinga, who is the personal deity of Indradumna Maharaj. We have, what else we have on our altar? On my regular altar, which you can't see from, there's deities, there's a deity of Ugra Nrsinga, tearing apart Hiranyakashipu. And then there's also a deity from a place called Satara in Maharashtra, a beautiful Nrsinga temple that I have visited a few times and also had the good fortune to give class there on Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day. And that's a beautiful temple. I'm not sure of the name of the temple, but the deity is a Shila that was discovered in one river by one great saint during the turn of the century. I mean, not this century, the turn of the millennium. I think it was in the year 200 AD, something like that. So there's many different deity pictures. So
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
I also have one prize deity picture that it's not displayed here. I have it in another place. It's a picture of the deity who was worshipped by Nanda Maharaj. He also worshipped one Nrsinga deity. So I have a picture of that Nrsingadev deity, which is very unusual, very sweet. But I don't have it here. I have it in another location. So yeah, Nrsingadev has come in so many wonderful forms. Just to give a chance to honor him in his different manifestations of himself.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Anyone else has any question, comment, or anything to share? Please go ahead. Maharaj, I have a question. You mentioned that Prahlad Maharaj was explaining to Hiranyakashipu that one should take the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee. So how can we practically do that? Can we just take the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee when
No, it means take shelter at his lotus
Take
feet
shelter.
and
Okay.
inquire into
Taking
the process of pure devotional service.
So practically, it is not appropriate to take the dust from the.
Unless they give you the dust.
Okay. So we have to take it only after the permission, only after we get
Talking
the.
about the actual dust of the lotus feet.
Yes, yes.
One should not try to steal it.
Okay. So we should not take it unknown. I mean, when a pure devotee does not know about it.
Well, it's called legalized stealing. Legal stealing. Sometimes it's okay and sometimes it's not okay. So better not to risk it.
Okay. So, but if I take permission, then is that okay?
But the instructions are better.
Okay. Okay.
That's what it really means. Take the instructions. There's where you'll benefit.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you. Sudha Mataji has raised hand. Mataji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, I have a question like pastimes of, when we hear Prahlad Maharaj prayers, by Prahlad Maharaj is such an exalted devotee, so much we have to learn from these pastimes. So my question is, Guru Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, even though he was born to a demonic, his father was demonic, he asked for liberation to Lord Narasimha. So how as a devotees we can cultivate this quality, seeing friends, not differentiating like he's a friend, he's an enemy. So as a devotee, how can we cultivate this quality?
When you see that all living entities are Krishna's part and parcel, and when you see that the bad qualities they have are simply the shadow that is covering them, all souls are by nature pure. So when we see them in a material way, we're seeing their shadow. That's all. We're not seeing them.
Okay.
But they identify with the shadow. They act on the basis of that shadow. And therefore, it seems to be, but when it comes right down to it, these are qualities of those who are more advanced in the spiritual life, because they don't have any enmity, or they don't make any enemies. Prabhupada says, a person may make the devotee an enemy, but the devotee doesn't make that same person his enemy.
Mm-hmm.
The devotee is compassionate, not concerned with friends and enemies. He sees all persons as candidates for the mercy of the Lord.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So as we progress, we develop those qualities in devotion.
Yeah, but unless you preach, you won't develop them.
Okay.
You have to be an instrument in the preaching. When you start preaching, then it becomes more natural.
Okay. Okay, Ganesh, thank you. I have one more question, but maybe I'll let Sridevi Mataji again ask then. Yeah. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Sridevi Mataji, please go ahead, Mataji.
Thank you, Vrinda. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to your divine lotus feet. Guru Maharaj, I'm piggybacking a little bit, I think, on Vrinda Mataji's question about how, unless one receives the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotee, there's no way that anyone can get the gift of pure devotional service. So then, what about those who are not even inclined in that direction, who are very materialistic? As Prahlad Maharaj says, what about these fools and rascals? What's going to happen to them? But when they have no inclination, they have no desire, and they're filled with materialistic ideas, how Krishna will send the spiritual master to these people who have no interest? And then how will they get saved? Because they're just going to repeat the same thing over and over again.
So what do you think? What's the answer?
Yes, but they also need some mercy, no, Guru Maharaj? Otherwise, what's going to happen to them?
So, okay, so say you put yourself in the position of that person who is you're talking about. So what would
Sorry,
you?
Guru Maharaj, there's thunder over here. Could you please say that again? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what would you do to solve their problem?
I mean, you preach to them until you're blue in the face, Guru Maharaj, and nothing happens. They just go on with their materialistic ideas and nothing gets into their thick skulls, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, you can try in different ways. And then when you have exhausted all the ways, then obviously they have decided to suffer. But you can also somehow or other give them prasadam. That might change them somewhat. There's one more bowl here, you know.
So and in general, devotees are very compassionate. So that's why we are trying to, through Harinam Sankirtan, give people the mercy of Radha and Krishna by spreading the Harinam Sankirtan. That's the only way out, isn't it?
Yeah, Harinam Sankirtan, prasadam.
Krishna.
You can't hear philosophy, obviously.
Sorry?
They're not able to accept or hear philosophy.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
Sudha Mataji, you want to ask your question?
Yes, Mataji, thank you. So Guru Maharaj, I have a question about Lord Narasimha Dev is like expansion of Narayana from Vaikunta. So I always had this question. So Lord Balaji is also Narayana. Could you please a little bit explain about the incarnation, like Lord Balaji?
Balaji is it's Krishna.
Oh.
Yeah. He's baby Krishna. He's also known as Ventekeshwar. Balaji is Krishna.
Okay.
But I think he's, let me see. Yeah, he took a particular form. Vishnu came to the material world as Srinivas, and then ultimately he was later on when he was worshipped as Balaji. Bala means boy, right? Or young.
So, yeah, so Guru Maharaj, as a devotee, we can still go and do Abhishekam for Lord Balaji. Yeah, right. So
If they let you. You can go to our temple in Pune. Our ISKCON temple in Pune. We have two temples there. One of them is called the Radha Vrindavan Chandra temple. And the devotees have connected a stairway from that temple all the way up to another portion of the area, and they constructed a temple of Balaji there.
Okay.
Well, if you want to go and worship Balaji, you can worship Balaji there in Pune. Beautiful deity, exact replica.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we have here in Charlotte, we have a Hindu center where we have Lord Balaji deity. Every Saturday they do Abhishekam. So I always go there and do Abhishekam, but always had this question about Lord Balaji's incarnation.
That's okay, it's Krishna.
Krishna. Okay.
It's
Okay.
nice.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
Anjali Mataji has raised hand again.
That's Anasuya. Her name is not Anjali. It's Anasuya.
Sorry, my Anasuya Mataji.
I'm sorry, my fault. I update the Zoom. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So in our Boston temple, some devotees had put Balaji, a picture of Balaji, in the temple room, but then other devotees got mad and said that Prabhupada didn't worship Balaji, and so there was like a debate between the congregation members whether to keep the picture in the temple room.
Well, what they did in Pune is they made a separate temple. Yeah. It should be in the same temple. Should be, if it's not against our tattva or our protocol to worship Balaji, but he has to have his own place and not mix him in with everyone else,
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. That's what they did in Pune. They made a completely separate temple.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
If that person wants to worship Balaji, they can take the picture home and worship it.
That's true, Guru Maharaj.
Boston.
We hope you'll come, Guru Maharaj, to Boston this summer.
If you get me my visa, then I'm coming.
We're working on it, Guru Maharaj. I think Parmakuna will respond to your email today.
That's the condition.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank
you, Mataji.
Okay. Thank you. And so tomorrow I won't be able to give class tomorrow, but tomorrow also is a very important day in honor of a very dear devotee of Srila Prabhupada who made Rath Yatras famous all over the world, and that was Jayananda Prabhu. When Jayananda left the world, Prabhupada said we should celebrate his disappearance day on the day before Lord Nrsingadev every year. So so we honor Jayananda tomorrow, and devotees can talk about him. There is some material available in different places. You can search it out. There's also 1 or 2 books written about him. And Sunday, I'll be at the Zagreb temple. I'm not sure of the time, but it will be somewhat in the early evening, probably around 5 o'clock. I'll be giving a lecture